welcome to my allotment. It's the beginning of December. I'm going to be showing you what you can be starting off this month. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, if you could please do so, and I'll give you lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my home garden, from my allotment and also my home kitchen. Now December is a really bleak month, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not really part of the dream, it's not quite so fun up here when the weather's not so good, but there is still plenty of things you can be doing, and there are some things you can be sowing this time of year if you want to, and it kind of keeps you going during what they call the hunger gap, as it were, and gives you some things to do. Now, if you've not already planted your garlic, although it's ideal that you plant it in October, you can plant it now in December. You are really pushing it, but I've done it. There was one year when I got mine in lastminute.com, and I think it was actually towards the end of December. It was the year I had my son, I remember it really well. We didn't even break the cloves up, we just shoved them in the ground, and we didn't get a lot, but we did get something. So obviously do break the cloves up, and you just push them down into the soil just below the depth of the actual garlic bulb itself. So if your garlic bulb is that size, you sink it down in the ground that much. So you don't sink it down really deep, but you do push them down a bit, the same length as the actual clove of the garlic. So like I said, if you've not done that, it's really worth doing. Having your own garlic is really fantastic, really adds a lot of flavour, and of course it's natural and organic because you've grown it yourself. The other thing you could be starting off is broad beans. So the reason for starting broad beans off early is the theory is you get them a little bit earlier than if you started them off in the spring. So that's something you could be planting now. Make sure you go for a variety that is quite hardy, that is ideal to plant now, because not all varieties are. And you plant them in a very similar way to garlic. You push them down the depth of the bean. So you have the bean in the ground with the same amount of earth above it. So you just put them down actually quite shallow, and that's something you can be doing. And you don't need to cover them either. There's lots of people up at the allotment that have already started off their broad beans and they're all out and they're not covering them. In fact, it can be quite detrimental if you cover them and then the snow lands on them, which is what happened to me last year, and actually flattened my broad beans because the cover I had on them flattened them down, and everyone else up here seems to leave theirs uncovered. So there's a top tip. Broad beans are one of our favourite early vegetables, so it is something worth planting because it's one of the first things that you often get to pick, so that is quite lovely. And the other thing you could be starting off, now this would be under cover in an unheated greenhouse, so you don't even have to have a heated greenhouse, as you can have some winter lettuce. I've got some in my side house at home, that's not heated, and I've already got a few leaves on that. That's quite lovely because you get a few lovely salad leaves to add to your various dishes, whether it be a salad, whether it be a sandwich, that's quite nice. And also you could start off some onion seed, and again you'd start that off indoors in an unheated greenhouse, and again that would get them coming along a little bit earlier and getting an earlier crop had you have waited until the spring. So, and the other thing that I do most years is sprouting beans. So I do that at home. So that's really quite interesting and quite lovely. I don't generally do them all throughout the summer because I'm so busy with everything else I've got in my garden. But during the winter months, you get a little bit of a hunger gap. So something like sprouting vegetables make a really nice addition to stews, to risottos, to salads. They're incredibly simple to do. They're really nutritious, and they sprout within days. So you get a really quick, return on what you planted. So that's actually quite rewarding, and you can keep successively sprouting those all throughout the winter to have a continuous supply. The other thing you could do is microgreens, which is something people do. Now that can often use up some old seeds. If you've got like some old cabbage seed or some old cauliflower seed that you probably are not too sure whether they'd be any good for the following year because you've had them in your drawer for quite a while, it's a really good way of using those seeds up. And also that can obviously add to your dishes. Again, you can put them in stews, in salads, in risottos, with omelettes, all sorts of things to add some flavour, some colour and some nutrition, and of course it's really natural at the same time. So as you can see, there are lots of things you can be doing. The other thing you could do is you could get yourself a mushroom kit. Now I've been seeing those in the shops. I've done that in the past, and I always say, oh no, I'm not going to do it, but I bet you I will be picking up a mushroom kit at some point and giving it a go. I saw one the other day for, I think it was $4.99, in a garden centre. So growing some mushrooms from a little kit that you get, and there's lots of stuff on the market now, all different varieties, or you could just grow your normal button mushrooms, but that's something you could do, and that would be really fun and exciting. That obviously you would keep that at home and you'd get full instructions with how to do that. Now I'd love to hear what everyone else is doing. As you can probably see, it's raining here, so it's not the most glamorous today to be up the allotment, but you know what, there is something still quite lovely about being up here. So if you can tell me what you're doing, and if you've got any comments or questions, then please don't hesitate to let me know, and as always we'll do our best to answer them.